Hello and welcome to Browntown. I'm your host, RatLiker63. I started this channel because of one of my favorite bands, Ween. Their music is something truly incredible. They've made me laugh, made me cry, made me bang my head all on the same album. But the main thing that inspired me to start making videos is the aesthetic surrounding Ween, one they've labeled as brown. Brown isn't something that can be easily described or categorized. It's more something you feel. In the words of Dean Ween himself, I can't really explain brown except to give examples. Ween opened for the Ramones in 1991. The Ramones showed up in a country squire station wagon that was smashed on one side and missing a window. Dee Dee, Joey, and Marky. That's brown. The beautiful side of brown. That is brown. That's real. It can be really bad. It can be a horrible thing when you get browned out by some band. A band shows up and they're brown, none of their equipment works or whatever, but it's a strength. You know you're getting the real thing. So, to put it simply, brown is something that is weird, rough around the edges, fucked up, passionate, and beautiful. Obviously, Diener was talking more about music, but brown can be applied to a lot of things. And those things are what I'm here to discuss. Music, video games, movies, TV shows, any form of art has the potential to be brown. As for right now, I'm going to focus on the video game end of things, with today's topic of discussion being 1994's Earthworm Jim. Earthworm Jim's story starts with Playmate Toys, a company hailing from Hong Kong. They were one of the manufacturers of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys, which sold extremely well for them. After seeing the success of their Ninja Turtles line and the first two Sonic the Hedgehog games, Playmates Toys wanted to make their own franchise starring a snarky, anthropomorphic animal protagonist. Enter Doug TenNapel, a cartoonist who had previously worked on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, the animated series, and video games like 1993's Jurassic Park, Ren and Stimpy, Stimpy's Invention, and The Jungle Book. He created the initial design of Earthworm Jim and submitted it to up-and-coming video game studio Shiny Entertainment. Earthworm Jim was the first game under their belt, and was their big chance to leave a mark on the gaming industry. TenNapel and Shiny Entertainment's founder David Perry got to work, with TenNapel doing various character designs, level ideas, and most importantly, voicing Jim himself.
Groovy!
David Perry had previously worked on a handful of licensed games, most famously 7-Up's Cool Spot and Disney's Aladdin. They were decently successful, but Perry longed to make something weirder, something not tied down by corporate restraints. He had this in common with TenNapel, and with their powers combined, they made one hell of a unique game. This game has a plot, though, like most platformers, it isn't a priority. Jim is an earthworm who stumbles upon a high-tech suit that allows him to walk around and use guns like a true red-blooded American. The suit was dropped by a bounty hunter named Psycrow while he was trying to deliver it to Queen Slug for a butt. The game follows his journey from planet to planet, running through dangerous planets and gunning bosses that all want their hands on that suit. Near the end, Jim meets Princess What's-Her-Name, who, spoiler alert, is tragically crushed by a cow that Jim launched at the beginning of the game. The game isn't trying to tell a compelling narrative. It's more about the general vibe of weirdness, the tongue-in-cheek humor with an unmistakable Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy influence, and the likability of Jim himself. You know those weird video game ads in the 90s that tried really hard to be gross, regardless of if the game themselves were gross? Earthworm Jim is like all of those distilled into a single video game. From the very beginning, one of the most noticeable things about Earthworm Jim are the sound effects. That really sets the mood for the rest of the adventure. The menu sounds are weird squelching noises, a lot of the enemy sounds are just farts. Hell, one of the first bosses you fight is a redneck that burps entire fish up at you while making armpit farts. Another thing is the voice clips. Jim is a fairly talkative character, especially for 1994 standards.
Wee! Doggy! Ow! Oh yeah!
The music is great, composed by Mark Miller and the controversial Tommy Tallarico. I'm not sure why people don't like this guy. I haven't done too much research on him. but his work on this game is damn good. My favorites are the tracks for the levels What the Heck and Intestinal Distress. The former is a bit-crushed version of Night on Bald Mountain that leads into elevator music with screams of the damned peppered throughout. It's funny as hell, and complements my favorite level in the game. The latter is a very stripped-back, almost scary tune. That, plus the darker colors and shadowy border blocking your view of the level, makes the experience creepier than the one that takes place in hell. The soundtrack has a few variants, with the enhanced port on the PC and Sega CD receiving CD quality audio for both the music and sound effects, while the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis versions received bit-crushed versions of them. It's not a bad thing. In fact, I think the Genesis twang enhances some of the music. Another big part of the game's identity is the animation and general art style. Jim's animations in particular are amazingly expressive, conveying a sense of both goofiness and determination. Everything has a hand-drawn quality to it, from the backgrounds to the enemies you face. Doug TenNapel is a damn fine artist despite being a racist douchebag. So the audio and visuals are great, maybe even some of the best on the Genesis. But what about the gameplay? Earthworm Jim is a run-and-gun platformer, meaning each level has you traverse through dangerous territory while shooting threats with your trusty laser pistol. Throughout the levels, you can pick up atoms to power your suit, which are effectively health, and ammo for your gun. The gun can hold up to 5,000 rounds, which can deplete pretty damn fast. If you go down to 0, the gun will automatically recharge up to 100 rounds to make sure you're never defenseless. Most levels contain a boss or two, and in between each level is a section called Anti-Asteroids. Here, you fly and race against the bounty hunter who dropped the suit you're residing in, Psychro. If you lose to him in a race, you have to fight him. These sections are fine. You can boost with the B button and find shields to block some of the asteroids from hitting you in the face. The real highlight here is the music. It is so goofy, I love it. You can find upgraded plasma rounds that give your gun a supercharged shot that obliterates most enemies. Some enemies even require you to use plasma to kill them. My problem with this is twofold. There's no way to switch to your regular ammo and save the plasma rounds for later. I want to save them for bosses or those really strong enemies, but I usually end up wasting them on the normal mooks that would go down easily with the normal bullets. 2, the plasma shots are harder to aim than the regular ones. A lot of the time I end up just plain missing an enemy and wasting a shot. In addition, Jim can pull his wormy body out of the suit and use it as a whip. This can be used as a melee weapon, which does more damage than the gun but is harder to aim, or as a means of grabbing shiny hooks to swing from. The hitbox can be pretty finicky for both uses, making it less than ideal. Jim feels fine to control, but a lot of the time I wish he was just a bit more acrobatic. The last move in Jim's arsenal is the ability to hover by spinning his head. I'm gonna be honest, I could never get this move to work consistently. I can only think of one jump in the game that requires you to use it, but I just wish it was more useful overall. One thing that Jim can't do, but I wish he could, is look around. In other 2D platformers of the time, it was pretty common to be able to look up and down to get a better view of your surroundings. Jim, for whatever reason, can't. There were a handful of times where I had to take a leap of faith because I wasn't able to see what was below me. It never led to a death, but it's still dumb. So Jim has a pretty simple moveset. That's not a bad thing, but with some of the challenges he's going up against, he has his work cut out for him. These levels want Jim dead. And herein lies the biggest problem with Earthworm Jim. Its extreme, punishing difficulty. It wasn't uncommon for games of this era to be difficult for the sake of padding out game time so your purchase would feel validated. Another thing is that there is no saving or even a password system in this game. So if you die and don't have any continues, you go right back to level 1. Again, it wasn't uncommon for Earthworm Jim's contemporaries to not have a way to save your progress. But a lot of these levels are, frankly, bullshit. Let's take the most egregious example. It's fucking glass bathyspheres and down the tubes. You need to pilot a crystal ball through an underwater section within 30 seconds. Run out of time, you die. Hit the wall too many times, the glass breaks, and you die. The level has 3 of these sections. The first 2 are bad but tolerable. But the third one, Jiminy freaking Christmas, I would not have gotten past this part without save states. From the moment I saw the game give you 99 seconds instead of the usual 30, I knew I was in for some shit. This wouldn't have been nearly as bad if they had done either limited time with a normal metal bathysphere or a glass one that you can take it slow with. Doing both made this become complete BS. I lost count of how many attempts it took, but by gum, I did it. Unfortunately, this was only the beginning. You see, down the tubes is the third level. The first 2 levels are challenging, but not unfairly difficult. New Junk City is a good starting level, with lots of secrets and an organic way of introducing what Jim can do. The only issue is the mini-boss, where it's not entirely clear if you're damaging him or not. After that is What the Heck, my favorite level in the game. It's a fun challenge that's not bullshit hard, along with a banging piece of music and a cute section at the end where you control Jim outside of his suit. After Down the Tubes, the difficulty spikes and does not let up for the rest of the game. The next level is Not a Problem, where you have a bungee jump battle against this mucus motherfucker. You have to smack him into a wall a bunch of times until his rope snaps. Not a big deal inherently, however there are 3 rounds of this, with each round becoming more difficult than the last, and your rope's health isn't restored between rounds. Level 5, which isn't actually the 5th level depending on what version you're playing, isn't the worst, but it has these sections where you're trapped in a steel cage and they throw a bunch of amoebas at you that you need to shoot down. You need to have the reflexes of a god to do these sections without getting hit. For Pete's sake, yeah, the name of this level sums it up. You have to guide this pink dog named Peter Puppy through this obstacle course. If something impedes his path, he turns into a monster that snatches you in his jaws and forces you back quite a bit in the level. The transformation reminds me of Scrappy Doo at the end of the Scooby Doo live-action movie, and reminding me of Scrappy Doo is not a good thing in my book. Intestinal Distress should be my favorite level in the game. I love the music, I love the background and the theme, but what I don't love are these stupid rolling bezoars. You can't shoot them, you need to jump and dodge them. But here you realize that Jim's hitbox is quite wonky at times, and it feels like he doesn't have enough invincibility frames for you to get back on your feet. Plus, the boss you fight here has an incredibly small arena with very large attacks, making it very difficult to dodge. Finally, there's Buttville. I can't lie, this level is where I gave up. You start on a platform and take a leap of faith into the spiky hellhole you need to navigate through. Up to this point, I had to use quite a few full health and extra lives cheats along with save states just to make it through, but this was the last straw. So, quite frankly, the bad outweighs the good in this game. But despite its bullshit difficulty, sometimes dated mechanics, and lack of a save feature, I can't bring myself to hate this game. It's too dang charming, with its humor, music, and animation going a long way. And the most important thing is that it struck a chord with people. Earthworm Jim was a success, spawning a handful of sequels, an enhanced port of the game on PC and Sega CD, a full-blown cartoon series, which is probably the most well-known thing about this franchise, a comic series, and a toy line. Also worth noting is that in 2010, an HD remake of the game was released for Xbox 360, PS3, and Nintendo DSiWare, which is unfortunately the last we've heard of Earthworm Jim so far. I definitely want to cover the other games in the franchise along with the cartoon. From what I've seen, Earthworm Jim 2 seems to fix a lot of the issues I had with the first game, and the animated series looks pretty damn funny. So now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the declaration, is Earthworm Jim brown? The answer is yes. The surreal, sometimes gross humor, the art style, and especially the music make this one of the most brown experiences in gaming. Earthworm Jim earns Browntown Arcade's first certificate of brownness. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, stick around. I have more stuff planned with a list chock full of games I want to cover. If you know of a game or a TV show or movie that you think is strange, rough around the edges, browned out enough to be good material for the channel, let me know. I'm always on the hunt for more stuff like this. Thank you again, and take care.